Welcome to the Fish North Georgia podcast, where we talk everything fishing here in North Georgia.
Make a cast over that brush pile and bring wolf packs of spotted bass up.
Georgia is blessed with so many of these electric-only lakes.
No, I didn't say that, Danny. Don't be speculating now.
All right, guys, welcome to this episode of the Fish North Georgia minicast. I am here with local angler Jason Johnson. How you doing, bud?
Doing good.
Jason, one of the things that you are known for in these parts, and we're talking the Lake Lanier area specifically, is your deep, what we call deep finesse fishing. So what I'd like you to do on this minicast is kind of give us a little bit about the knowledge you use to catch these fish deep. And we're talking 40, 60 feet sometimes, like that. So
yeah, 40, 55 is getting pretty deep for Lanier fish. The timber, when they built the lake, starts at about 38 foot.
Okay.
For the most part. There's a little bit in the lake that's a little bit shallower. But for the most part, when you get out to about 38 foot of water, you'll start drawing that timber. And, deep water fishing, there might be a few secrets to it.
Right.
But the main secret is a lot of time on the lake. You got to idle and idle and idle. And ditches, road beds, you just got to idle and find where the bait's wanting to position at and how they're setting up and how they're relating to the timber, if they're on the bottom, if they're in the top of the trees. That kind of dictates what kind of presentation you're going to give them.
Okay, so I imagine with this too, electronics are going to be key.
Electronics are very key. And, Lanier, take it back 15 years ago, and some of the people that's listening, I've been fishing Lanier about 22 years now. It's pretty strong. Uh-huh. But some of the old school people that had the flashers and all that, when they found these places, they really had them to themselves. When I started, it was still, the beginning of color screen technology. And you can find stuff easier, but nowadays it's a whole lot easier to find with down scan, side scan. Now you got some of the live scan on the front trolley motor.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot of the time and speeds it up. You can find these places a whole lot quicker than you used to could.
Okay, so just describe your setup on your boat with your electronics.
Right now I've got a one screen in the back, 1/16" Lowrance in the back that I run 2D sonar, side scan, down scan, and mapping on. And I've got a 12" Lowrance in the front on the trolley motor for just 2D. But I'm actually, as of probably tomorrow, it's supposed to show up. I'm putting a new Garmin live scope on the front.
That Panoptics or whatever that is?
Panoptics live scope.
Okay.
And I went out pretty recently with one of my friends. 3 years ago, I had the first generation Garmin Panoptics.
Okay.
And it was pretty good, but it wasn't what I thought it should have been. Right. And I spent a lot of time looking at it, and it didn't really show me what I thought it should for the technology. But now Garmin's released this new one, and I took it, went out with Cody Meyer a couple of weeks ago because I wanted to see it firsthand, and it's pretty amazing.
Okay, so maybe describe for somebody who has no idea when we say, the live scan, the Panoptics. Describe that a little bit.
So, Hummingbird's got one that's 360 imaging. Mm-hmm. It's a still picture. As the sonar rotates around, it draws a 360-degree image.
Almost like a weather radar kind of thing if we're watching the weather?
Kind of like a weather radar, exactly. And it'll show you a stump or a tree, and it only updates every time it makes that circle.
Okay.
Garmin was the first person out with this live imaging, and it actually is real-time, basically a 2D sonar with better technology facing forward. So it's pinging constantly, and if a fish, bait fish, whatever is moving, you actually see it move on the screen in real time.
So the screen updates.
You can, as long as your trolling motor's aiming right where you cast, you can actually fire your bait out there and see it spiral down. If there's a fish around it, you can see it turn and go towards the bait.
So that's a game changer.
It really is. Lowrance has got it now too, and it's some people might like Lowrance, some people might like Garmin, but to me, as of right now, I think Lowrance might be the Gen 1 Garmin. I think Garmin might have the edge on that right now.
For right now. Okay, so we talked about the sonar, the technology that you're using. Let's talk a little bit about your setups to target fish in the deep water like this.
Rod and reel setups?
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm using a spinning rod, light line.
Now, do you go braid and fluoro like that? Or?
Yeah, I do. I used to do all fluoro and before the whole braid to fluoro trick started, and you get the fluorocarbon and get a memory and it blow off the reel. And it's very aggravating. So I switched basically exclusively to braid to fluoro.
Okay, and what kind of knot do you use to tie?
I think it's the double Alberto knot.
Alberto knot?
Yeah,
okay.
I've tried that F1 knot or whatever they call it, and it's just, it's way too much for me.
Too complicated. Yeah, we have heard that from a lot of people.
Double Alberto is a plenty strong enough knot. I never, as long as when I cinch it, it don't break then, I never have an issue with fighting a fish or whatever.
How do you set your drag for that situation? Pretty light?
If I'm fishing out in, around 40-foot range, it's pretty strong to begin with, but I immediately back the drag off after I set the hook.
Okay, so once you get it on, you can tell.
I use pretty forgiving rods. The tip's really soft on them.
Okay, what brand of rod you like?
I've used Daiwa Tatula Elites.
Okay.
And so when you set the hook that deep, even with that braid, you still got a lot to pull that hook into the fish.
Okay.
So you want, immediately once you get them hooked, if you're in the timber, you need to get them out of the timber. But then you want to back off on the drag a little bit and play them out.
Yeah, so you can kind of judge once you get a hook on, the fish is running. You can kind of tell, okay, this fish I need to back off, or you just do it automatically.
No, you can kind of tell.
You can kind of tell?
Yeah.
All right, particular spin reel you like?
Just a Daiwa Tatulas, and I got a couple of Shimano Sustains too. I don't buy the top of the line reels, but I want my spinning reels. I would rather spend money if people want to spend money on reels. I'd rather have a really nice spinning reel over a really nice bait caster.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'd rather spend the money there and buy a cheaper bait caster than vice versa.
Well, you probably spend more time with a spinning reel in your hand than you do a bait caster.
I do, but the drag, typically you're relying on your drag way more on a spinning reel than you are a bait caster.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the better quality the spinning reel, the better drag system it's got in it.
Okay, all right. So we got your sonar set up, your rod set up. So now we are on Lake Lanier. We're in some deep water. Kind of give us a little bit of what you're looking for. Are we looking for humps offshore? Or are you fishing points, or anything goes?
Some humps, but most of the humps are a little bit shallow. They're more summertime type places.
All right.
Usually the sides of them may be leading into a ditch or a pocket. Some people call them ditches. It's basically any pocket you see on Lake Lanier or any lake in America is a ditch. It's a natural funnel. Mm-hmm. So you look around in the ditches, road beds, underwater rocks, really good. If you can find natural big boulders underwater out deep, they're a little bit trickier to find, but they're really good when you do. And natural rock's basically like a road bed. It's just a hard structure, and fish like to set up on hard structures. So road beds are pretty hot in the wintertime. Where road beds meet timber, that's even better.
Right.
But you basically, every winter's different. Like every time you go out, and I say winter, that's usually when I'm fishing that deep is in the wintertime.
Right.
You got to find the area that the bait's in.
So it's still bait related no matter what.
It's 100. The spotted bass on Lake Lanier is 100%.
Yeah, bait
related. All they do is eat.
Well, that makes sense. So, and really, when we're fishing this deep, you're targeting spots. You're not targeting largemouth.
Yeah, you might catch one random one, and nobody's never been able to answer that question. You go up to somewhere like Lake Hartwell, and they've got the same kind of forage, blueback herring, threadfin shad, gizzard shad, and the largemouth up there will get out on the main lake and mix with the spots.
But Lanier's different.
And Lanier's different. The largemouth just seem to stay back in the back and do their own thing.
For no reason. No explanation. Just.
I wish somebody could tell me. I'd be a better fisherman if somebody could tell me how to target those too.
What I've noticed is, in your pictures and some of the tournaments that you fish in, it seems like every once in a while somebody comes in and spot, but that guy that's got that big kicker largemouth,
yeah,
he's always in contention.
This past weekend, Daryl Strayhorn won, and he had 4 nice spots and almost a 6-pound largemouth.
Yeah, it makes a difference just to get that one.
It does. The springtime they show up pretty often around the spawn, and everybody's kind of targeting shallow water. But in the wintertime, it's hit or miss on somebody bringing in a largemouth.
Yeah, and we're right now, as we're recording this, it's March 2nd or March 3rd.
March 3rd.
March 3rd, actually. So we're probably getting close to that transition, from wintertime fishing to spring. Now, let's talk baits without giving up your secret. Let's do it this way. If I am somebody who has never fished deep water finesse fishing, I want to give it a shot. Maybe give me a couple of suggestions as to what I could drop down. I have found the fish or what I think's the fish. I got my setup like you got, and now I want to drop it down.
Number one would be a drop shot.
Drop shot.
It's hands down the very best presentation year round under any kind of circumstances, it's just for some reason one of those baits and presentations that fish eat. And that's across the country. When I was traveling, a drop shot's just something that people should throw more than they do.
Okay, now are you technically a straight dropper down, or do you cast it out?
I cast it.
Oh, you cast it. Okay.
And one of the little things that people don't think about when you're drop shotting, I have two drop shots on the deck. One for vertical dropping when I see them on the graph, and it's got a shorter leader on it.
Okay.
Leader meaning from hook to weight.
Right.
If I'm gonna cast it out in the timber, out in wherever I'm around a brush pile, I'm gonna put a longer leader on it, probably up to about 2 foot.
Okay.
Because when you're making a long cast, the angle that you're pulling that bait back to, if you stay with a short leader, the worm's basically gonna be on the bottom.
I understand. Okay.
If you have a longer leader, you're pulling it
just to keep that worm up just a little bit.
The angle that you're pulling it, it's still only going to be 12 to 16 inches off the bottom, just like your vertical one.
Okay.
So I usually have a casting drop shot on and a vertical one when I see them on the graph.
Now, whether you're going vertical or casting, do you use the same size hook? And if so, what size do you normally use?
I do. It's just I use the little light wire 1/0 straight shank hook.
Okay.
It's got a little keeper on it. There's several different brands. Gamakatsu's got some. I think it's Robo Worm has their own hook, and just a light wire straight shank.
Okay, so drop shotting. Do you think color matters at that depth?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
I like the pinks.
You like the pinks?
Yeah.
Okay. Any reason why, or you just have more success with the pinks?
I have no scientific explanation for this.
You just know it works.
It works, but I think it's got to do with light penetration.
Okay.
And maybe the biologist y'all had on a couple of episodes ago would know this better, but I don't know that fish see many colors.
Right.
I think when we walk into fishing stores, we see colors and we like them. I think they see silhouettes. And I think the pinks and the purples and all those colors down deep, with what little light penetration does reach that deep, which is hardly any, but it might glow a little bit and give it a different silhouette than, say, a green pumpkin or something does.
That sounds like Harmon mentioned something like that.
Oh, did he?
When he goes to, and that was, I forget which podcast it was, but it was with Lanier Jim, if you want to look that up. He discussed, I asked him a question, how do you get the colors that you make in your baits? And he had a whole specific reason, but a lot of that had to do with light penetration on that. So I think you're on the same.
I mean, it goes back way back in the day that a mutual person that we know that we actually worked with, David, way back in, I guess, the late 80s, he had a friend that was a scuba diver, and he would get him to go down with human eyes, not fish eyes, but he would get him to go down at certain depths and take worms with him and see which ones he could actually visually see himself at certain depths.
David did this. David Pickard. No, at Dawson Heat in there. There's a shout out to David.
He did.
I don't know that he'll ever listen to this.
That's when he was ate up with fishing way back. Now I can't even get him to go with me.
You know what? I did not know that about him, so I'm going to have to bring that up. Okay, so drop shot, you like the pinks. Maybe one more technique for somebody to try.
New hot technique,
okay.
hot off the
press. Yep. Here we go.
Is the Tokyo rig.
Okay.
It's more known for flipping around vegetation. VMC's making one right now. You can make it yourself. It's basically a heavier drop shot.
Does it have the wire coming off the bottom?
It's got a wire.
Okay, yeah.
You put whatever weight you want on it, and then you bend the wire to hold the weight on, like a bullet weight. Mm-hmm. Quarter, half, stack a couple bullet weights. But it is a great, I don't know if I should say this right now, but it's a great technique for swimming a little paddle tail Kitech style baits through the timber.
Okay.
It acts just like a spinnerbait does. As you're dragging it along the timber, that arm catches the tree limb first and lifts the bait up over it, where you don't get snagged near as much. You're down that deep, hardly no light, so that wire, they're not seeing that wire. They're just feeling the vibration of that paddle tail swim bait.
Okay. That is a hot off the press Jason Johnson technique right there.
It's working.
It's working right now. Okay. Well, just because somebody knows the technique don't mean they can put them in the boat. You still got to have some skill at some point to do that. So one other thing before we let you go. You found the fish, you got the bait, you drop it down, you got the live scope, you see it coming, you feel it, you set the hook. Anything particular about the way you set the hook, or you just lay into them and then fight them? I mean,
no, like a drop shot, I basically just reel into them.
Oh, drop shot, you reel in.
Okay. Usually once they bite it, unless there's just one of those weird days when they're not really wanting to eat, they don't let go of it. So once you feel them, they kind of, you're shaking it, and you can't shake it anymore. It's just solid. You just reel into them until that soft rod tip loads up, and then pull on up into them. And here's the thing that all tournament anglers, I'm guilty myself. I was guilty this past Saturday. I lost a really big fish because of it. But once you hook them, especially these deep fish, unless you feel like they're going to keep you in the timber and break you off, there's no reason to really winch them up fast.
You get in a rush, don't get in a rush.
Well, and I say that because for the fish care.
Okay.
It's been very few times in the last 5, 6, 7 years that I've blowed one stomach out.
But I didn't even know that was even possible to actually blow it. Okay.
I mean, if you pull them up from that, 40 plus too quick, their air bladder can adjust, and their whole stomach will come out their throat, and that's when people call fizzing. But a lot of times when it comes out, it's a little bit too late to do that. To fizz.
Okay.
So on light line, you shouldn't be trying to hoss them up anyway. You're going to break off. So if you're just fighting them and letting them come up a little bit and letting them fight, they kind of adjust as they come up, and they have a lot better survival rate in the deep water. That's the only downfall of deep water fishing, is you can kill fish really easy.
Okay, then that's a good advice too. We've had several people talk about the fizzing of the fish. I've never heard anything about them actually being able to blow out.
Yeah, it'll come out their mouth.
Okay, all right. So one last thing before I let you go. I know I said that, but I want to come back to something. You talk about fish care. Now, most of this is done in the winter time of the year. So let's say somebody's doing this technique in the summer, and they're bringing a fish out of that cold water up into warm water, and they're going to keep it, maybe be for a tournament, maybe just real quick, something they can do in their live well to, what would you do in your live well during that situation? If you actually found fish that deep and you're like, okay, it's summertime, it shouldn't be there, but they're there, and you pull them out.
Summertime, it's a kind of double-edged sword. A lot of us take ice with us.
Okay.
But you got to be real careful not to put too much ice on them. And
why is that?
It's just too cold.
Too much.
It'll freeze them.
Okay.
It shocks. About like us taking the polar plunge, running
yeah,
out.
It would kill me.
It almost shock you.
Right.
And so a good trick is to put like a half-gallon milk jugs in the freezer the night before a tournament. Mm-hmm. Let them freeze, drop them in your live well, and then it slowly cools the water off.
Okay.
For a longer period, because ice, if you got your live wells on recirculate and it's pumping in some new water every so often, that ice is only going to last 5-10 minutes. Then you're bringing in that hot surface temperature water again, and then you're immediately dumping some more ice in, so it's going hot, cold, hot, cold, hot,
right.
cold.
Okay.
But you got to also be careful with bought ice with the chlorine in it.
That's
so
a good point.
You need to use like some G juice or other chemicals that offset the chlorine in the water.
Okay. All right, guys. So there you have it. Now we've got everything from our sonar setup, rod setup, techniques, a little bit of fish care and everything. So get out there on that water, deep water in the wintertime, maybe see if you can get this technique, see if it works for you, and you can put them in a boat like Jason does. So I appreciate you doing that, man.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Fish North Georgia podcast. If y'all have any topics or guests you'd like to see in the future, leave it in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, click that bell so that you'll be notified of any future videos. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Fish North Georgia. And we look forward to seeing you soon.